Well, good morning, my friends. Let's do this right. Well, hello, my friends. Today is a great day. I woke up to actually two really nice messages. One was from John Bankston, the guy who you might have saw him. He was one of the speakers at the Buster Keaton plaque ceremony, but he also wrote the Silent Echoes book, the book on Buster Keaton's filming locations around Hollywood. And he sent me an email thanking me for vlogging that. He said, thank you for using your forum to help other people get to find out about Buster Keaton and the festivities. And he said he himself was doing tours that whole weekend and didn't get to go to see the Talmadge family speak, and so he actually got to see that through my vlogs. And I thought that was pretty cool that, you know, somebody in the community reached out and thanked me, and just, it's kind of cool that we're able to all share our love for Buster Keaton and for old Hollywood together. And then I also got a message from my friend in Sintra, and he said that the family that owns the restaurant, Apetiero, loved the vlog. They said to say hello, and that they loved watching it, and that they missed me and everything, so I thought that was really cool. So awesome. I woke up feeling really wonderful, which is weird because what I want to vlog today is going to be maybe a downer, but I hope not. I hope it's actually like a kind of an uplifting thing. I was originally going to take Jaw, but I think I've decided now I don't want to. And when we get there, I'll tell you why. I think you'll actually probably figure out why when we get there. So Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. We're going to give him a little bit of a walk and then head out of here. Well, where we're headed to now is we're going to head up to Calabasas and we're going to go see the Celebrity Pet Cemetery. And the reason I didn't want to bring Jaw was because I didn't want to be looking at him and trying to vlog and just thinking about the inevitable day someday. So, plus, you don't want to have the best looking dog in Los Angeles out there at a cemetery that's meant for pets. They're probably going to be eyeballing him. Now, this cemetery apparently isn't all that easy to find, but it's where everyone from Valentino to Steven Spielberg have buried their pets. Well, there it is. Let's go. Well, you know you're in the perfect place to call eternity for your pets when you see this. It says the Rainbow Bridge. There is a bridge connecting heaven and earth. It's called the Rainbow Bridge because of its many colors. Just this side of the Rainbow Bridge there is a land of meadows, hills, valleys with lush green grass. When a beloved pet dies, the pet goes to this place. There's always food, water, and warm spring weather. The old and frail animals are young again. Those who are maimed are made whole again. They play all day with each other. There's only one thing missing. They are not with their special person who loved them on earth. So each day, they run and play until the day comes when one suddenly stops playing and looks up. The nose twitches, the ears are up, the eyes are staring, and this one suddenly runs from the group. You have been seen, and when you and your special friend meet, you take him or her in your arms and embrace. Your face is kissed again and again, and you look once more into the eyes of your trusting pet. Then you cross the Rainbow Bridge together, never again to be separated. Now you see why I couldn't bring Jaw? You think I can read stuff like that and then look down at him and keep it together? And then there's a statue of St. Francis, the patron saint of pets. I had also read about this online, which also kind of spooked me from bringing Jaw. Since I've never been out here, I didn't want to take any chances. Well, the grounds here were actually donated by a man way back in the 30s who just loved animals, and his pet was the first pet buried here. And you can see they have a time capsule here as well. Here you can see all kinds of headstones. This one says free, the most perfect dog in the world. Well, this is Henry's tree, and you can tell that because there's a bench here that says it's Henry's tree. And then down here, in memory of beloved Henry Desforge, the bicentennial cat. See, it's a beautiful place to remember your pet, but it's also a little sad if you're a pet owner. Now look at how beautiful that is. Now this is one of my favorite headstones, and this is something I should do for Jaw someday. This one says, Canine from Mars, 2003-2016, out of this world being pure good. Thank you, Canine, for lovingly helping kids in the world with Kids Make a Difference. Aw, man. That's great, isn't it? Now, believe it or not, there are not a ton of pet cemeteries in Los Angeles. This is one of the few that's actually designated as a pet cemetery, as a legitimate Los Angeles pet cemetery. Now here is a horse named, hold on, let's wait for the sprinkler to go by. Buckabye. He was a racehorse. Ohio Handicap Horse of the Year, 1988, winner of the Governor's Buckeye Cup Handicap, 1986 to 1988. My gift from God. Don't we all feel that way that are pet owners? Now, some of the headstones actually will say who the owner was. I don't know that Steven Spielberg's and people like that who have had their pets buried out here, Humphrey Bogart, have all put their names, but I do know if we're lucky enough to find K-Bar, Valentino's pet, it does say that it was Valentino's pet on there. Look how beautiful they keep this. See all the color all the way around. Doc Slippers, my headstrong friend. Now, I know this is not my normal Hollywood type vlog, but I really wanted to do something a little bit different, and I think this is definitely worth being brought about to everyone's attention. If you're coming, you might want to come out here. She brought love and joy and happiness into our lives. She uplifted the spirits of all she met. How blessed we were to be loved by her as well as we loved her. And Sydney's got her own little bench here. I asked a couple of people that worked here for some help finding some of them. They were able to help me with one of them, but not on the other. So we'll do our best. And this is in memory to the people who donated the land and founded it, the Jones family. Now, I've actually been pointed kind of in the direction of one of the pets that's buried here, or I guess you could actually say celebrity. So let's go find him. Now, this is one of the most famous residents here. This is a cat named Roommate. Now, the crazy story about Roommate is that Roommate was a cat who all of a sudden in 1952 one day just showed up at a classroom in Elysian Park, in Echo Park, and would come to the same classroom every day and then would disappear when classes let out for summer break, and then would come back as soon as classes started back up, would show back up at the school again. And they said that Roommate did this from 1952 until the mid-60s, so 15 years. And this was a cat that was beloved by all the students. Everyone knew him, and there were poems and songs written about Roommate. Elegy to Roommate, the school cat. Roommate has entered his final sleep. Peaceful will be his dreams. Our happy children shouting at play, being viewed by millions on TV screens. That's right, Roommate was a little bit of a celebrity as well. Yeah, Roommate at one point was made into a children's book, and also was the subject of a documentary called Big Cat, Little Cat. They said that Roommate eventually got into a cat fight and I believe died of pneumonia. And that's on the back of Roommate's tombstone. And this one's name's Dudley Do-Right. Now, I believe this was the very first plot on all of the grounds, if I'm not mistaken. That's the Jones little doggy. And they were, like I said, they were the family that donated the land and started this. And you can see they had the other pets were Molly, Midge, Valentine, Mrs. Santa Claus, and Jonah. Now, if we follow this all the way up here to the top, you see a big headstone right up here with red flowers. That's one of the ones that we wanted to come see. Now, this grave actually belongs to one of the most famous lions of all time, one that we all that watch this channel probably recognize. This was the very first MGM lion, Tawny. We know Tawny as Leo the Lion, but this is the grave of Tawny. That's right, the lovingly known mascot of MGM. From 1918 to 1940, Tawny the African lion, with malice towards none, he bore the adversities of his life with mankind, gentle, lifelong protector of his adored tomcat pal who sleeps beside him here. Beloved, always faithful companions of Mary Macmillan, who reared them together with loving kindness. So every time you see one of those early MGM pictures, I think they've had 3 different lions now. Tawny would have been the first one, and you can see Tawny's little buddy, the kitty, right there on his back. Now here's one named Laddie Irresistible. And here are the ashes of Zanny. Baby gave her life protecting her home. And this one says, Jackie's beloved Dalmatians, Swanee Girl Walsh from 1936 to 1951, and Spotswood Sassy Lassie. And then whatever was written here, I won't be able to read that. You Mae West fans, take a look at that one. I'm certainly hoping that we find Valentino's pet because K-Bar has a great story. So if you'd like to know how this place actually really came about or what the reason is and why it's so far out of LA city limits, is because that was the law. The reason that Eugene Jones bought this land was because he was a pretty noted veterinarian in the West Hollywood area in the late 20s, and they had a law that you couldn't bury animals within the city limits. So he bought 10 acres out here, and that's basically what he did. All of his beloved clients that had pets that had passed away, they all started moving him out here. See, even more reason to show appreciation to the Jones family. Tiny 10 years, Doc 15 years. Now this is kind of an interesting one because there was an actor named Milton Sills, but this is not Milton Sills. This was a famous German Shepherd from Bakersfield that they said was famous for being known as the dog who knew everything and could spell it. Been spending some time stopping by and like kind of wiping some of these off, because just thinking if it were my pet, what I want is memory to be covered up, especially when you have things that say I miss you so much, you know. A little bit of respect, you know. Rip Butler Hogan and Bing Burns Hogan. Sonny Boy, our lost treasure. Well, if nobody exactly knows where Valentino's dog is that works here right now, that could make it really difficult, but I'm not going to give up yet. There's Scooby-Doo and Flame. Oh, take a look at these. Isn't that great? It's kind of cool that the cemetery is cool with letting them decorate and everything like that out here. You never know sometimes. Brandy, who's there? Oh, look at that. These people made a little memorial with their family and their pet. Oh, look at that great one. Picture the dog with the wicker hat, cowboy hat on. And there's Snoopy. We'll never forget the fun, laughter, love, and devotion we shared. Miss you, love your family. Now that's the original building that was here when they first started it. You can see it says right on the front still 1929. Now something tells me that Valentino's dog is probably buried up here because Valentino died in 1926 and his dog died after him. And this place wasn't open till he bought the property in 28, opened it in 29, so very possible. It says the mausoleum was restored and refurbished in 2003. Little fountain here. That's kind of crazy. on this old hill over here, and you can kind of tell in the background, the mausoleum is right there. You can see it over the right side in the old picture I'm going to show you, where it used to say LA Pet Cemetery. Going up this hill. And take a look at this grave for Skippy here. You lived a good life, and then there's a picture of Skippy with a Hanukkah hat on. Well, let's go inside the mausoleum. I'm 100% sure that Valentino's dog is not here, but I think he might be over here in the old section somewhere. That's also a really great stained glass window. Great name. That's another really terrific stained glass window. Our little pequeño mojito. Oh, look at these two horses. In loving memory of Galahad, beloved steed, loyal partner and best friend, forever in our hearts. And then Baron right next to him. Is that enough color for you? And they really have this looking beautiful, don't they? She stole our hearts and socks. Banana. Gary Kimmel. Look at the name, Stardust Ziggy. And we have a recent arrival. Elvis, the sweetest girl with the biggest heart. And there's Socrates, our magnificent gentle giant. But he kind of looks like my friend Yogi, doesn't he? Cappy and his master Joel Frederick Fine MD, together on the Rainbow Bridge after a brief 10-month separation, now best friends forever. Wow, that's sad. Here's Batman, leader of the pack, forever loved. Here you can see, it looks like the pet of Tony Orlando, Bambi. Resting here is Bambi, my beautiful friend. 1976 to 1984, Tony Orlando. Well, we just found Topper. As you can see, it's Hopalong Cassidy's horse. William Boyd, the famous cowboy. Topper was in a lot of movies. So, his remains stay here. Now, who we're also looking for is, we're also looking for Little Pete. Little Pete from the Little Rascals. He was the second Pete. His father was the original Pete and was poisoned. And then here is Smoke, the famous horse of stage and screen, beloved pet of Chief Thundercloud. Chief and Mrs. Thundercloud. And then also over here is Sunny, Good Scout, famous horse of stage and screen, beloved pet of Chief and Mrs. Thundercloud, once again. Now I know for sure that Bob Barker, John Gilbert, Lionel Barrymore, Humphrey Bogart, Cubby Broccoli, various people have had their pets buried out here. Even the Okies. Well, I actually thought this would be the last one we found, but I finally found it. K-Bar, my faithful dog, Rudolph Valentino. Now, Rudolph Valentino was already passed when K-Bar passed away. Here's the interesting story about K-Bar is that if you've ever looked at old pictures of Rudolph Valentino, while he's driving a car or while he's at home, you almost never see him without at least one, if not two or three dogs surrounding him. K-Bar was one of them. And he also would always be surrounded by his horses. So if you ever saw him at home, he was with dogs and horses. And if you saw him in a car, he always had one of his dogs or a couple of his dogs with him. He was gifted K-Bar on a overseas trip, fell in love with K-Bar, took K-Bar everywhere with him. And then when Valentino unexpectedly died, K-Bar actually left the home, left the Falcon lair up there on the top of, what is that street? Angelo? Yeah, I think he lived at the top of Angelo. Took off and disappeared, and they said that K-Bar went looking all over for his owner, never to find him before returning back to Falcon Lair and dying of a broken heart. Wow, these pets really must have been loved. If you see this one, little guy on the side, it says my Fred Astaire, eyes of emeralds, jet black coat, glistening like the precious gem that you were. It was only outshone by your sweet loving nature, our beloved kitty. And this one was Tiger, a very special cat. And there's a whole big poem there from the family. Now I believe that's Lou Rawls' pet, Rudy Rawls, Roo. We all love you. Well, man, the only one I can't find is Pete the pup. Well, here's the grave of Mickey Mulligan. You filled our lives with joy and laughter till we meet in heaven. Rest in peace, Richard and Lenore Mulligan. I believe that's Richard Mulligan from Empty Nest. Well, we finally found it, and no wonder it was hard to find. It was completely covered in like all these clippings and all that stuff, but here he is. Pete and his siblings. Pete and Teddy and Sally. Sally 22 years, Pete 16 years. Now they were the siblings, well, they were the kids of Pal. That was the original Pete for the Our Gang show. And this Pete was the one who followed up his father's passing. Now, his father, Pal, was actually where they got that idea for the circle around Pete's eye. Pal had almost that look already, and when they started using that dog for acting, Max Factor filled in the circle, and that became like a trait for the Our Gang series. And so he was the original Pete, and then, but this Pete actually was in, as like a smaller dog, like a puppy. He was in that episode of Our Gang when I went and vlogged St. Brennan's Church, where Guns N' Roses' November Rain was filmed. The front steps of that has a scene where Weezer has a bunch of dogs that jump on him when he's all sad and everything, and that was Pete when he was a little baby, and then eventually for like 3 or 4 years he would go on to become the Pete during like the early 30s, like Alfalfa and Spanky and those guys, and then they would, I guess, basically just keep using the siblings of these dogs whenever they needed a Pete. Now I grew up with it being the Little Rascals because Hal Roach, when he sold the rights to television, as I understand it, he wasn't allowed to use the name Our Gang, or he couldn't, so they changed it to the Little Rascals. And this was the Pete that I loved and remembered. That was my favorite era of the Little Rascals, I'll always call them, because I watched them on TV. Ted and Ann Crawford. Faithful pals. You bet. Well, I'm only showing this because it ties in with when I was in Santa Barbara and that whole story of Sambo's. This guy named his dog Haynes Black Sambo, and that was in the 40s and 50s, so that shows you different times. Well, I think we're gonna call it a day here at the pet cemetery, the celebrity pet cemetery, because we pretty much found everybody on my list, or all the famous pets that I wanted to see here. Even some of the famous pet owners' names were on some of them. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Been here over 2 hours. Another good reason why I didn't bring Jaw. Not too much shade out here. I love that somebody named their dog the Professor. I also saw a tombstone for a Gilligan as well. Well, my friends, if you didn't know this place existed, you do now, and I hope you enjoyed a little change of pace. Everybody seems to like it when we go to cemeteries. Today's a little different style cemetery vlog. And once again, thank you, Dr. Eugene Jones, for your devotion and service to animals. Now it's just a long, long drive home. Took 30 minutes to get there, 50 to get home. You know, I think the most frustrating thing about LA traffic is the fact that it's all made by the people driving. There's never like a ton of traffic, it's just bad drivers creating it. That makes it so frustrating. Look at all this open space. See, lucky Jaw, he didn't go to the cemetery, and then I came home feeling all guilty about seeing all those passed away pets. Now he gets a treat. Worked out for him. All right, he gets a ton today.
Have a good day, all right?
There we go.
All right, let's get this puppy some treats then.
All right, we got it, and he found a friend. All right, fella, you just got 5 different treats for 5 different days. You're set. Well, that's it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed today's vlog. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great night, and goodbye.